Welcome to School's Out 80's Comedy Story Time.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to School's Out 80's Comedy Story Time. Really excited about our guest today. His name is Michael P. Gardner, and he brings a wealth of funny stories and experiences from the 80s. He also happens to be a professional actor. With that said, though, Mike, say hello to everybody at School's Out 80's.
Hey everyone, man, I can't wait to talk about the 80s. I've got so many stories. I graduated high school in 1984, so this is right up my alley.
Awesome, man. Awesome. You know, Mike, I didn't mention this, but I graduated school in 1985. So you guys, you and I got that little bit of,
Yeah. So I got 1 year on
commonality.
you. So respect your elders.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, you and I both remember the $5 12 pack of beer.
Oh yeah.
Yes, kids.
Oh yeah.
$5 for a 12 pack.
In fact, I even remember you could get a 12 pack of Black Label for $4 and change. Black Label, that was the best.
There you go. Yeah, black label when you're trying to create digestive issues in high school, black label
Right.
is the way to go.
And you're trying to pass out drunk because that stuff was off. It was the worst beer. Oh my god. And it's probably
Oh,
why I don't drink beer anymore. I literally
uh,
I just not my thing. I don't.
no, man, all good, Mike. Hey, so I'm going to take you to 1981. You're in high school in Saginaw in the Fort Worth, Texas area. The bells ringing. You're a freshman in high school. Come on,
Mhm.
tell everybody what that was like and any funny stories you have.
So I went to Boswell. So my freshman year was actually 1980. We had just moved down here from Massachusetts. So
Okay.
I was in the process of reuniting with some friends that I had known a couple of years before that, and making new friends. And Texas and Massachusetts, I mean, they're on the opposite. They might as well be on the opposite sides of the earth compared to where they are because they're just completely different peoples, completely different society. I love them both. I have a lot of family in Massachusetts still as well, but
Yeah.
Texas was just so much different and so much more wide open. I had two older brothers. We were athletic, and we like to go out and throw the baseball around or the football or whatever. And Texas was good for that.
Cool, cool. Well, how did you spend your weekends? I mean, any funny stories from your weekend outings in Texas in the 80's?
Well, if you got any people here that were anywhere near Fort Worth in the 80s, then they know about Camp Bowie Boulevard. Camp Bowie
Okay.
Boulevard is where you went to find girls. It's where you went to find the party, the alcohol, whatever you were looking for when you're in high school on a Friday night in Fort Worth, Texas. Camp Bowie was the place to go. I mean, you could go there and you 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 could watch a fight. You could watch a well, I don't want to say that, but they had some interesting nightclubs on Camp
Yeah.
Bowie. I mean, and they had some hotels. So you never know what was going to happen once you got there. People would say, "Hey, let's cruise Camp Bowie this Friday." Okay, but when they say that, that could include a trip to Vietnam or something
Right.
crazy. I mean, you just never know.
Yeah.
You might end up spending the night in a hotel with some drunk uh, person that you never met before, or not that it ever,
Okay then.
not that it ever happened to me, but it's
Right.
just irresponsible high school stuff. And
Yeah,
Camp Bowie was
sure.
the place to go. Camp Bowie was definitely the place to go.
So you're in high school and you're cruising Camp Bowie. Talk to us about what kind of car you guys were in and how many of it was it? I mean, like was this like a Wayne's World thing where you're like there's 4 and 5 of you
It
packed in?
it was. I had an older brother, and at that point, when I was in high school, my older brother was 6 years older than me, and he had a Bonneville, a '69 Bonneville. Which, if your
Nice.
viewers don't know what a '69 Bonneville is, it's the 1969 Pontiac Bonneville, and it's about the
Okay.
size. It's about the size of uh, a, a Mack truck. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
I could put me and my girl in the front seat, and I could put 4 of my best buddies in the back seat, no problem.
Nice.
It was
Nice.
great. And it was my brother's car, but since he was off in the military, he was kind of letting me drive it, and I think I might have put some miles on it,
I
but it was
guess
a great
so.
car, great car.
So were you firing up the 8-track tape at that time?
I had an 8-track in there, and my favorite 8-track was Aerosmith. Aerosmith
Ah,
rocks on 8-track.
okay.
Would play that thing over and over and over again. Oh my God, Aerosmith was the best. They still are, but Aerosmith was I'd say Aerosmith was more of the 1980s era rock band of all rock bands in the 1980s. I mean,
Absolutely,
they
man.
were the best.
Absolutely. And go ahead.
My favorite bands were Aerosmith and Rush.
Nice.
So I went to many Rush concerts. I was a huge Rush fan.
Wow.
I saw them
And
in
I'm
Marine.
guessing you saw Rush in Fort Worth?
No, they played at Reunion Arena, which was in Dallas.
Okay.
It's not there anymore, but the old Reunion Arena. I think one year, I think it was 1983.
Okay.
Rush came to town and they played, I believe, 3 shows.
Yeah.
They didn't come for just one night. They were so big they would play 3 nights in a row, and I went all 3 nights. It was the
Wow.
Moving Pictures Tour 1983, and I went to all 3 shows.
Oh my God, that was one of my favorite albums, Moving Pictures. Okay,
Yeah.
so you went to all 3 nights.
Yep.
So any funny escapades? I mean, that's 3 nights of concert going.
Yes. I don't remember exactly where it is, but there's a parking lot that there was kind of right there by the Union Station in Dallas where there was a railroad track. You could walk to the end of the parking lot and go to the street, and then walk down the street and cross the railroad tracks, or you could be a bunch of foolish, dumb guys and just go straight across from where we were. Don't bother going to the street where the crossing is. So we go to Reunion Arena. We just cross the railroad tracks. No big deal. But when we come out of the concert, there's a train going by, but it's going really slow. And we get over to this train track, and things going by real slow. We're like, I'm not waiting for this. We all jump on the train, kind of cross over the little train hitch there, and jump off the other side. And oh my God, yeah, I'm surprised that one of us wasn't run over and split in 2 by the train. It was a really foolish thing to do. I don't ever recommend anybody get on a moving train and then jump off the other side, but that's what we did. And
so did you get on like where the train connects to the other car?
Yeah. It was going by, and since it was going through downtown, I guess it was going really slow because there was a lot of crossings, street crossings.
Yeah, it's probably getting ready to stop.
Yeah. And so we just kind of chuckled along with it, and then grabbed onto the ladder and moved over to the hitch, and then jumped off the hitch onto the other side. It was absolutely the craziest thing I'd ever done to that point in my life, and I don't recommend anybody. No matter what, it's not a good idea.
So were there girls with you when you were jumping train tracks?
No, that night there wasn't. Thank God, because we probably wouldn't have jumped the tracks, but there wasn't.
No worries.
Not that night, but oh my God, I can't remember. One of my friends almost slipped as he was kind of hanging off the other side of the train. He was hanging on to the ladder and coming on, and the way he had his legs were like wide open.
Oh my God!
And he slipped, and if he had fallen straight down like that, he'd have been split right in half by the train. It was, oh my God, it was so scary.
That's funny.
It was kind of funny at the time, but when we look back at it and talk about it, we're like, man, we're lucky we didn't get killed. That was a really silly thing to do. I mean, don't mess with moving trains.
So, okay, so you're at Rush for 3 days. So imagine you guys packed up some beverages, and I know this was a lot of years ago, but do you recall like how you guys, procured those kind of, at that point, illegal beverages for the concert?
Yes, I had a fake ID.
No worries.
I don't advocate this, I had a fake ID that said I was like 26 years old, and it always worked. It never got turned down. My name was Arun Kumar Singh, and I was like 26 years old. And at the
That's
time, it
so
was like,
random.
yeah, and it's a just I was 17, and I had
Yeah.
the ID of a 26-year-old man named Arun, which would obviously be a little bit darker skinned than I
Yeah.
was, but it
Is
worked
that
every
like an
time. I mean,
Indian name?
that's yeah, Arun Kumar Singh. It,
Yeah.
you know,
This sounds like
back in the
something off
80's.
of like what that movie that Jonah Hill was in.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah. I don't remember.
yeah, no, I hear you, but man, that's funny. So okay, so you got the fake ID, you're getting the beer. What kind of beer were you guys getting back in the 80's? Do you
Well,
recall?
I think I remember drinking a fair amount of vodka. I was kind of beer was a little too heavy on my stomach. I mean, you could drink 5 or 6 beers and just so
Bloated?
bloated, and I didn't like that. I was more of a liquor kind of guy, so I would
Yeah.
probably get we would get a fifth of vodka and we would just drink, excuse me, straight shots of that or whatever, and you
Ouch.
know, and we smoked a little bit on the side. I
Uh-huh.
don't smoke anymore, but I mean, it was the thing. It was the 1980s, man. If you went to a Rush
It was
concert,
medicinal, right? Like you had a medical card so you could smoke?
oh sure, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Because you had a lot of anxiety in high school, right? And you needed a medical card?
I had a lot of mental problems. I had a lot of mental issues.
No, I mean, you get a lot of anxiety in high school,
Yeah,
those tests and trying to
yeah,
date
that's what it was.
girls.
And the
And
girls, yeah, yeah, yeah.
so you're
There's a
going to
lot
your
of
doctor and you're saying,
lot of
hey, I need
anxiety,
a script for, I need some script. I need a script for some weed.
right?
And the doctor looks at you and he's like, hey, where do you get your weed? Is it better than what I've been getting? Right.
Right. And back then things were different. You couldn't just, it's not like nowadays. It was all Mexican, coming from Mexico kind of weeds. It
Mhm.
was nowhere near the kind of, anyway. Don't want to
All
have a
good, all
conversation.
good, no worries. So I find this interesting. I'm a history fanatic,
Oh yeah.
and I'm thinking the area that you're at, where you're jumping the train tracks over by Reunion Arena,
Yep.
is right there across is the grassy knoll in Dallas where Kennedy was shot.
A couple blocks away. Couple blocks away, not
I mean,
far.
real close, real
Yep.
close.
Yep.
So
And we would always drive down Elm Street and park, somewhere near there or whatever, and it was always surreal to kind of look up at that building and look at the street, because you'd seen it on TV so many times, but once you're there and you can actually look up at the building and look in the street, and there's that white X in the street where it happened,
yeah,
it's just crazy, and it's still up for debate today as we speak. There's really no definite how many shooters, who shot who. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
so got a question. So
Sure.
you obviously have a little bit of coin on you if you're going to Rush 3 times in a row. That wasn't cheap back in the day. So what were you doing for cash back then? Did you have a job?
Actually, not during. Well, I believe that
Mhm.
the Rush concert was in February, and which
Mhm.
that I was still in high school, so no, I didn't have a job. But my friend's mom, uh, really liked me. She had two sons, and we all three of us would hang out, and
Wow.
their mom would take us to the concerts. I mean, we would drive she had a beautiful, like a '78 Cadillac Fleetwood, and we would all
Wow.
pile into this, because she realized that if we would be a lot safer, or guaranteed to be more safe
And so
with
she
her.
forked over the cash for you to go to the concert 3
Yes,
times?
she did. She did. In fact, her two sons wanted to go. So when they went and bought tickets for the show, they bought tickets for me, because I was going to be going as well. So I mean,
Think
that's
about
just
that.
how.
3 days she had that house empty for
Yeah.
3 so was she married?
3 nights.
Was
Was
she
she what?
married? Was she
Yes,
married?
yes. They were married, and they lived in Lake Country out in on Eagle Mountain Lake. So
Oh,
she
wow.
would she would take us to the concert. I don't know. I don't remember where she would go while we were in the concert, but I mean, it was nice having our mom, having their moms, take us and pick us up, and and
So
be.
she must have. I mean, that's about an hour drive
It
from
is.
where
It
she's
is.
at. So
Yep.
so so she must have just like hung out in downtown Dallas somewhere, waiting for you guys to get done with the concert. What a
Yeah.
cool mom!
Yeah. I don't think I ever
Wow,
really thought about that. Now that you mention it, I don't think I ever really. I was like, where was she? But yeah, I'm sure. God, my phone's going crazy.
you're a good
Uh,
man. God, I needed that deal. I didn't have anything like that when I was a kid, man. We had to like make our way to the concert, make
oh
our
my
own
gosh.
coin to get to the concert. That
Yeah.
is so cool, man.
But yeah, concerts. When I was in high school, concerts were my thing. I mean, I saw
Yeah.
ACDC, Rush. I mean,
Okay,
you name.
ACDC. You saw ACDC what year?
Yeah, 85,
Okay.
85. And
So Brian would have been with them by then. Brian
yeah,
Johnson would have been the
yeah,
lead
yeah,
singer. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
ACDC was. We had sixth row, and standing up in front of me was like this wall of Marshall stacks, like about 30 feet tall and 50 feet wide. I mean, they had the biggest
Wow.
setup I've ever seen in my life. And
Yeah.
Angus Young he would go on a guitar solo for like 15 minutes. And just that guy, he would expend more energy in an hour rock show than I ever seen anybody in my life. And I've been to hundreds. I've seen
Yeah.
hundreds of bands, and I'd say ACDC was probably one of the most just incredible shows, not only for the music, but just for the energy and I mean, Angus just never stopped. He just
I know. I know.
non-stop, go, and ripping on the guitar, not missing a note, and ripping on that guitar. Oh my God, it was the best. Just the
What a
best.
great album, Back in Black. But
Yeah.
hey, okay, I want to take us back to high school for you in the 80s. Okay, so you're in Saginaw High School, you're in the
Yep.
80s. So you're obviously dating girls, you're going to concerts. So talk to me about like a funny date that you had, or like a funny instance in high school dating.
Well, we used to always there was this one place called Mama's Pizza. It's right off of Jacksboro Highway, right there
Okay.
in the Lake Worth area, and that's where a lot of us would go. If we went on a date, you'd go to Mama's.
Yeah.
Kind of a tradition. You'd go to Mama's Pizza. So you pick up your girl, and so me and my girl went to Mama's Pizza, and then we're supposed to meet up with some other friends who were in the back country. And so most of my friends lived out in Lake Country, which was a neighborhood that wasn't completely developed yet. So there was still a lot of like backwoods, and it was
Right.
really hilly and whatnot. And we went out there. We went out there looking for some friends of mine, and we couldn't find them. And then we found out that they were at a party, which is like on the other side of. You had to go back to the entrance to Lake Country and then go on the road and then around. Well, we decided. I'm thinking I know that it's a straight direction or just across this field, and then my friend's house right there, and they're having this huge party. And so I tell my girl, let's just go this way. We don't need to go back on the road. We'll just go across this field and then drive. I'm driving a pickup truck, so
Yeah.
here we go. We drive across this field. We're driving past cows, and there's like, what is this dude doing in the field with his truck? And so we get to the edge of the field, and sure
Now,
enough,
how'd you get through the gate? How'd you get through the gate to get to the field?
there wasn't one. I don't know. There wasn't one on the side that I went in, but when I got to the road, there was a fence, and it was one of those typical 3-wire barbed wire fences. Yeah, I'm just like,
Oh,
I
wow.
don't know what I was thinking, but I was thinking if I go fast enough and I hit it in the right spot, I can just go right over that. Well, probably not the best idea. That didn't work out so well, but we had fun anyways. I mean,
Tell us more about that. So you tried to ram a barbed wire fence with your
So I
pickup
did.
truck?
yeah. I'm driving an old Ford step side pickup truck, and so when I ran the fence, I tried to like hit it right in the middle between a couple poles. I didn't want to be close to the pole.
Were they wood or metal? Do you remember?
It was a metal barbed wire fence. And
the stakes were metal, because they make them with metal and they make them with wood.
Yeah.
They were metal?
These were metal posts with 3 strips of barbed wire in between.
Oh my God.
So I figured, I could probably get over that. I don't know what I was thinking. I was a high schooler. What do you?
Oh
So
yeah, man. Your frontal lobe isn't working. So did you make it through?
eventually,
Oh
I
no, that farmer hated you.
I had to back up and then try it again. Back up, try it again.
I love
So
it. How many
I
people were
lost
in
track.
the?
I lost track of how many times I hit that fence, but I eventually got over. And
Was it just
I
you
had
and
a
your
bunch of.
date?
She was laughing. She was just cracking up. She couldn't believe it. She was like, "Oh my god!" She thought I was gonna kill her. Oh my god, it was crazy.
Oh my God.
But
How'd your truck look after that, Mike?
it had a few scratches on it, but it was no big deal. It was kind of
Uh,
a party truck, you know. I mean,
oh man,
it was
that's a
what it
good
is.
story. So so were you jamming out to some 80's music as you're ramming
Oh
this
yeah,
fence,
yeah.
this
We
barbed
we
wire fence?
imagine ZZ Top, and we're just hitting this, bam, and I would back up and then go forward, bam, and then it's not like we would come to a complete stop. You go a little ways through the fence, but you're dragging the fence with you. So
Yeah.
I think eventually I was able to get out and just like, you know, we had the fence stretched out, and so I just like lifted it over the truck or whatever. Oh my God, my girl was laughing so hard. She would not get out of the truck and help me out. I didn't ask her to, but she's just sitting in the truck, just laughing,
So
laughing,
did
laughing.
you buy her some Mickey's Big Mouths that she was nursing while all this was going on?
We had alcohol in the car, I'm sure.
Okay.
But the thing was that she was laughing so hard, but she was really sweet about it, because
Uh-huh.
I was really trying to make an effort to make it a, a nice evening, and to have to go back all the way to the entrance of the neighborhood would just be a pain in the butt. So I decided to go to the fence. She's like,
Okay.
"You're crazy," and so I guess
So
maybe
you're
I
a
was.
teenager. Did you go back to I mean, did you go back and see the damage you did the night before? You had to have, right?
So we go out to the road. We go like maybe a quarter mile down the road from where we were, and there's where my
Okay.
friend's house is. And I remember at the party telling people that I messed up somebody's fence about a half mile down the road. Well, my friends happen to know the people that own the property, where I ran over the fence, and I asked them to please, keep it between us as far as
So
what
they didn't
happened.
rat you out?
So no, they were nice. They kept a secret, but it was the joke of the night. I mean, I literally just tore down this fence, and now I'm begging everybody, please don't tell them, please, because it's here in
Love it.
Texas. Is if it's a big piece of property in Barbara, it's probably owned by a cowboy, and
Yeah.
not the kind of
Packing a gun.
not the kind of people you'd want to mess with, really. At least I didn't run over any of his cattle,
That's
but
what I was wondering. Did any of his cattle escape since you
oh
damaged
my
his
God.
fence?
I don't know. That reminds me of another story. I don't know
Okay.
if any of your audience is aware of the term cow tipping. I'm not sure if you know
Go
what cow
ahead, man.
tipping
Tell
is.
us all about cow
So cow
tipping.
tipping, is this legend that at nighttime, if you walk out into nobody really knows what a cow does at nighttime when we're not looking. I mean, do they stand there and sleep, or they stand through? What do they do? So we would go out, and a friend of mine told me that if you find a cow that's in kind of out of it, sleeping or whatever, you can actually
Yeah.
push them suddenly, and they'll fall over because they're not well. Not true at all, because if no matter how hard you push on a cow, I mean, you got to be a really big dude to be able to push over a cow. That's cow tipping
Completely
is
false, huh? It's not true.
not, well, at least not that I've ever seen before, because we me and my friends, we were on plenty of cow tipping adventures, and never one
Yeah.
time was any of us able to get the thing off its feet. Yeah, but you think
Okay.
if you surprised it enough, you could just knock it off its 4 feet, and it would just land on its side and just maybe get up. Not true at all, because if no matter how hard you push on a cow, I mean, you got to be a really big dude to be able to push over a cow. That's cow tipping
Completely
is
false, huh? It's not true.
not, well, at least not that I've ever seen before, because we me and my friends, we were on plenty of cow tipping adventures, and never one
Yeah.
time was any of us able to get the thing off its feet. Yeah, but you
Okay.
think if he's surprised it enough, you can just knock it off its 4 feet, and it would just land on its side, and just maybe get up or whatever. But no, they're pretty stable animals.
Okay.
It's
Okay. Nice.
yeah, I don't remember where that rumor came from, but somebody we're driving down the road drinking beers one day, and somebody goes, "Hey, let's tip some cows." I'm like, "What? I'm from Massachusetts. I don't know what cow tipping is." So they're telling me, "Yeah, you sneak up on them and they're sleeping, and you push them over." I was like, "Okay, that sounds like fun. That sounds like a lot of fun." So we get out there to try to tip these cows over. It didn't work that way, and I'm pretty sure there was a bull or two just kind of giving us the evil eye,
Wow.
and we were making sure
That's
that we
funny.
paid attention to them because, I mean, this is Texas, and people
Right.
have property, they have cattle, they have horses, and there's lots of fun adventures to be had.
Man, if you're out cow tipping, you better not have your cowboy boots on. You better have
No,
something with some tread on them.
I'm from Massachusetts originally, so I never had any cowboy boots
Okay.
until much after high school. Not
Okay.
not that
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of cowboy boots, but
Yeah. No
sure,
worries. No worries.
I'm more
Okay.
of a
All right.
rider.
All good, man. All good. So, so take us now. We're out of high school. We're going to put you right into the military. So, so tell us like the funniest thing that happened to you when you were in the Navy. And two, here at Schools Out 80's, we appreciate your service.
You're welcome anytime. I think the funniest story that I remember from the Navy, it's not a Navy story, but it happened to me while I was in the Navy. So I
Okay.
went to boot camp and training school in Orlando and learned, and I
Oh,
was a
wow.
navigator. I went to school in Orlando to learn how to be a navigator. So I would basically
Okay.
navigate the boat. And then,
Hmm.
once I was done with training and navigation and boot camp and training, then I reported to my ship, which is in San Diego. So I spent the rest of my naval career on a small ship in San Diego, which was absolutely the most beautiful place on the planet I'd ever seen
Oh,
at that
yeah. I
point.
love San Diego.
And so when I get there, I start making friends, and I meet a guy that's from Weatherford, Texas, which is real close to where I was coming
Did you
from.
say Weatherford?
Weatherford, Texas, yeah.
Yeah. Familiar.
And he was, and my friend Richard, he was already a second class petty officer. He'd already been in the Navy like a couple of years when I first got
Okay.
there. But he was the officer's cook on my ship, and
Okay.
on my ship there was roughly 20 to 25 officers and roughly 175 enlisted men. So I'm an enlisted guy, and I don't know if your people know anything about Navy ships, but there's a chow hall where the enlisted guys eat, and then there's the staterooms and the chow hall upstairs, or usually
Right.
above, where the officers eat, and it's much nicer wooden chairs, and you know. But so, anyways, my friend is the cook
Yeah.
for the officers, and whenever we would go out to sea, the officers would prepare by going grocery shopping with their wife or their significant other or whatever, and bring groceries on board the ship and give them to my friend who was the cook, and
Okay.
he would cook he would cook the civilian food, while we're out at sea, and that's kind of how it went. And it kind of turned out into like a party place for me. And so whenever we were on shore, we would go out partying until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We would come back to the boat, and we would go straight to the mess hall upstairs in the officers' mess, because they
Yeah.
had all the great food. And we would munch out all their food. So one night we're in there. It's like 3:30 in the morning, and me and my buddy were just like pigging out on a bunch of food that doesn't belong to us, or it's this guy's food that they bought at the grocery store, and we're just like rah, 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 rah. And the guy whose food we are eating at that very moment comes in the door, and it catches us just totally mowing down all of his food, and oh my god, there was hell to pay. We had to replace all his food like on double, so he wouldn't tell the captain. But he was nice about it. But
Interesting.
we were and San Diego's a really, really great place to be in the Navy in the 1980s, because there was so many really cool nightclubs and dance clubs that we would go to, and we would try to not look like we were in the Navy, but we did a pretty good job. I mean, we had some really cool clothes, and you know, we grew our hair long on the top. I had hair back then. We would grow
Right.
our hair really long on top, but then when we were out at sea, we just put it on underneath the baseball cap. So I had hair up here that would like fall out of my face and cover my eyes if I wanted to, so I could
Okay.
look like I wasn't really in the Navy. I just walking around with this really cool '80s haircut hanging down on my face, and my buddy had a Hyundai Civic wagon, and in the back seat in the back storage area was like completely full of civilian clothes, like 50, 60 different outfits. And we would leave the ship and we would go to Richard's car and we'd put on some civilian clothes and go downtown and dance all night long at the clubs in
Nice.
San Diego. It was really, really fun. San Diego
What
is a
year was that,
beautiful town.
do you think?
That was probably the summer of '86 through the summer of '90.
Oh, okay. So quite a while. So were you primarily based in San Diego when you're in the
Yeah.
Navy?
Yep.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I was based. In fact, when I was in boot camp, there was 79 people in my navigation class, and me and my buddy, my best friend's name, Jimi Hendrix. I know he's probably not watching or ever will, but my best friend's name was Jimi Hendrix. We met in training school. Well, he was
Okay.
from San Diego, and
Okay.
so and the way they give out orders when you're in training school like that, they give the number one grade point average gets his choice, first choice of all the orders. So they got a stack of orders. There's like a bunch. There's like 3 San Diegos. There's a Hawaii. There's some Floridas, whatever. So the guy that has the best grade point average for the year gets
Okay.
his choice, and then the second, and third. So him and I were first and second. He was first, and I was second, barely. And there was one pack of orders for Hawaii, and there was
Okay.
three packs of orders for San Diego. I'm like, come on, Jimmy, you know you want to go back to San Diego. You know that's where you live. I mean, that's ideal duty. It's where your family is. He took to Hawaii, which I knew he would. So he took to Hawaii. I took to San Diego, and then it was probably about a year later when my ship, we were doing what they call a West Pack. It's a Western Pacific cruise in a battle
Okay.
group, and we pulled into the pier there in Hawaii, and we're literally across the pier was the ship that he was now on. I,
Oh
I
wow.
had I hadn't seen him since we graduated training school, and I
Okay.
knew that he had gone to a ship in Florida, but I didn't know which one. And so we pulled in, and we had a radio up on the bridge, and sometimes we would radio to each other, ship to ship. And
Yeah.
I just happened the very first ship. We were literally across the pier from it. I called over there, and there he was. I hadn't talked to him in like a year, and there was Jimmy. He was like, "Dude, meet me down on the pier in 20 minutes." And we went out, and oh my god, we had such a great time. Hawaii
Oh
was
wow. Sounds like
amazing.
fun.
We
So
I
so
had the
when
most
you're
amazing time.
awesome. So when you're in San Diego and what do you call those when you get to go out at night? Like
Oh, like shore leave?
okay, yeah, so you got shore leave, you're in San
Yeah.
Diego. So any of your shipmates not quite make it back to the ship for whatever
Oh my
reason?
god. You must be psychic or psycho, one or the other. Probably psycho. Yes,
A little of both.
we my ship had gone on well. There's some secret things I can't say about it. My ship,
No, no, all
we
good.
had
We just
gone
want to
our
hear
way
about your
up
friend that
to
didn't make it.
we went up to Vancouver, and there's another place right there by Vancouver called Victoria, where we did some weapons loading. And
Okay.
when we were in Vancouver, one of my fellow quartermasters, was same age as I was,
Hmm.
kind of a new guy still, he missed ship's movement. And in the Navy, the worst thing you could do ever, miss ship's movement. They put you in jail for that.
So
So
why did this happen though, Mike? Walk us through.
because
Like, how did he miss ship's movement?
he went out drinking with the rest of us, and found a girlfriend, and he went home and just overslept. Just probably went to bed at like 5 a.m. when he got there with the girl, and you were just drunk as hell. And when you're on the ship like that, we had a 4-day rotation. So every fourth
Okay.
day, I had to be on the ship for 24 hours. So those
Okay.
other 3 days, I was free to go wherever I wanted, and until ship's hours were 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, when he didn't show up at 7 a.m., we started figuring, well, we're getting underway in like an hour. I'm like, so, and we can't leave and go look for the guy because so. So we sure enough end up getting away. He never even contacted the Navy for 3 days. He didn't know what to do. He was so worried and freaked out. And this girl, he did well when he finally contacted the ship, they they went and picked him up. Of course,
What
the
they do with them
they put him in jail.
in
They
on the ship? Like, is there
no
jail
not
on the ship?
No, on the base where we were there in Vancouver.
Okay.
When you miss ship's movement, I mean, there goes your house. The ship is it's where you live. It's where
Right.
everything you own is. So when you miss ship's movement, you don't just go, oh well, I'll just be in the back of the port. No, you go to the base and you say I missed ship's movement. They put you straight in jail. They put him in jail, and he sat in that jail I think for 9 days before they even let him out to come back to my ship. So when he gets
Wow.
back to my ship, then he has to go under the captain's mast, which is kind of like trial jury or whatever in the military. And so then once he had captain's mast, then he got his punishment for missing ship's movement, and that
Oh
was
no.
60 days behind bars, and then come back to the ship and be restricted to the ship for 60 days. I mean, he
Okay.
couldn't get off the ship for 60 days. So for the next 120 days, he
Yeah.
was literally property of the U.S. Navy with, you know, he, the poor guy, he told me stories about the guys that were in the brig where they put him,
Right.
and he kept hearing this loud like bang bang. Each one of the little cells had like a school desk, and you had to
Yeah.
sit at the school desk all day long, like from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. the working day. You had to sit at that desk, and you couldn't get up or whatever. And he would hear this odd banging noise every couple of hours. He couldn't figure out what.
Okay.
Well, after a couple of days of doing that, he was, sitting on the desk for like the third day in a row, and he was getting really, really tired. He falls asleep, and he cracks his head on the desk, and he realized at that moment what that sound was. It was other guys falling asleep and hitting their head on the desk.
Oh
And
no.
it was
Oh no. Oh
crazy
God.
story.
So that
Funny.
night that the guy didn't make ship's movement, that night, did you guys see it coming? Were you looking at him? Because like I know
Yeah,
when I've been out with my friends, we can like tell, hey man, this
yeah.
isn't going good for our buddy.
Well, he was a navigator, a quartermaster, also like me, and there was like
Okay.
five of us all together. So whenever we went to shore to go out drinking or whatever, if we were out at sea in a foreign port, we would always go together.
Okay.
But at home, I had a couple different friends or whatever we would hang out. But
Right.
when we were under sea, when we went to Vancouver, so all five of the quartermasters had gone out, and we had all partied, and then ended up splitting up and going back to the ship at various times. So none of us really knew where he was when 7 a.m. comes around, where we're standing there for muster reporting, and he's not there. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
serious deal. We know he's about to go to jail if he doesn't get on the ship. So he missed ship's movement. They put him in the brig, and then he gets out. They ship him down to our deal. They put him in the brig for 60 more days. It's
Right.
crazy story. But I mean, kids, if you're going in the Navy, don't miss the ship. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly. And
Yeah,
if you're
because
on a cruise ship, don't miss the cruise ship because they will
right.
leave you as
Well,
well.
yeah, that too.
Okay, so we're going to take everybody out of the 80s now and fast forward. So you had varied careers. We don't need to go into all that, but at one point you had a life-changing moment where you decided, I am now Michael P. Gardner, the actor, and you're
Yeah.
pursuing acting. So tell us all about that for one, but then parlay that with like a really funny story and maybe a famous person that's in that funny story for everybody.
You got it. So
All right.
So I had gone through life, and I'd worked at various jobs. I had worked at a flower shop. I had uh, managed a couple of lemon companies. But when I was age 42, my car had blown up. My I had a heart attack, a small
Wow.
myocardial infarction is called, and
Wow.
since I wasn't working anymore because my car blew up, I couldn't pay rent. So there's the evil three. If you don't have rent money or a car or a job, you're done. So long story short, I ended up sleeping on my brother's couch for the foreseeable future at that time. Again, I'm 42 years old. And so I met this girl, Katrina Cook, and she was a casting director for extras for movies and TV. And so a little while, we weren't really dating, but we were still communicating. And she had mentioned to me, she knew that I didn't have a job anymore and I was looking for work. So she asked me if I wanted to be an extra in a movie. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, what kind of movie? It's called Bad Kids Go to Hell. It's got Judd Nelson from Breakfast Club. And it's
Judd Nelson.
sort of a Breakfast Club / horror film. Was so the gist of the story is just like Breakfast Club. Bunch of kids that are after school, on detention, but then some murdering starts. So, anyways, she asked me if I want to be an extra in this film with Judd Nelson. I was like, well, sure. How much does it pay? And she goes, well, it doesn't pay, but you get to meet Judd Nelson. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. So I wasn't working. So I went and I met Judd Nelson. I also met Chanel Ryan. She's a beautiful model from California. In fact, Chanel Ryan was on the list of the top 100 most beautiful women named by Time Magazine back then. I don't know what year it was, probably.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so I met Chanel Ryan. I met Judd Nelson. Had a great time.
Was this like 2010?
What's that?
Was this like 2010?
It was, yeah, 2010,
Okay.
2011.
All right.
So I just fell in love with the whole process. Judd Nelson was really nice. Judd Nelson, because he could just look at me. He looked at me and he says, "Today's your first day, isn't it?" I mean, I don't know. It's like I had a big sign on or something. He knew that was my first. I was like,
good. Yeah.
This is literally my first day ever and so I talked to Jake. Judd was really, really nice. And this model, Chanel Ryan, she was also cast in the movie. She was a teacher or something, and she had a role in it, but she didn't have any scenes till the next day. So she just happened to be hanging out on set the day before when I was there. And so I'm like, man, this acting stuff is great. I met a supermodel. I met Judd Nelson. This is the best. So I was hooked right there. So
yeah, that's awesome, Mike.
I mean, it's almost like a drug, especially when you don't have a job, you don't have any kind of future, you don't have any kind of plans, you don't have any kind of savings. It's all just gone to crap because you just had a heart attack, your car blew up, and you're sleeping on your brother's couch.
God love you. Thank God for your brother.
Yeah, thank God, Tom Gardner. And so, even though I was sleeping on my brother's couch and trying to get things back together, and it was really adverse time for me, I kept in my head, I kept it focused that acting thing. I had to do more acting. I was literally hooked. And sometimes when we make a big decision in life, we may have thoughts about, oh, should I do this or should I not? Or maybe I
you get the fear factor.
There was not 1 second of that. I was gonna be an actor, and that was it. I was gonna be an actor, or I was gonna die. Whichever happened first. I was gonna be an actor, or I was gonna die trying. And that's kind of how my attitude was, and still is for acting. Because I used to play guitar. I was in a band. We mentioned that earlier. And I was
sure.
Pretty regular guitar player. And when I first fell in love with acting, I completely dropped the guitar. I had no interest in playing guitar at all. That's how much I was interested in the acting thing. I just wasn't interested in playing guitar.
And now you've been doing it, 13 years?
I've been doing it since 2010. So yeah.
Okay. So you've been doing it like 13 years. So like walk us through like an instance where, you just did something really cracked you up on set.
Larry Hagman.
Oh, Larry Hagman. I love it, man.
He was J.R. Ewing on the TV show Dallas. And,
in the 80s, baby. In the 80s. I love it.
Yeah, but then there was also a Dallas 2. There was a second series.
I know. I heard about the Dallas 2.
That was when I became an actor. So one of the first big, TV sets that I ever worked on was on Dallas. And
oh no! Wow.
I was an extra on there, and that's where I started getting I started getting pitched as a cop. I played a cop different a bunch of different
Okay.
times. I played a cop, but the most important part of being on Dallas was they made me Glenn Morshower's stand-in. So Glenn Morshowers, he was in X-Files, various other stuff. But Glenn Morshower, he kind of looks like me. So they made me Glenn Morshower's stand-in. If your audience is not sure what a stand-in does, a stand-in basically
Mhm.
sits where the star would be, while the star is getting makeup or wardrobe or whatever, getting all that stuff
Sure.
done, because they don't want to waste the time of a big time actor just sitting there while they're getting the cameras ready and the lights and all that
Sure.
stuff. So they have a stand-in do that. And so I'm standing in for Glenn Morshower, and I'm sitting at the dining table at the J.R. Ewing house up in North Plano, whatever it's called. And I'm
Oh, yeah,
sitting at a
yeah.
dining table.
I've been
I'm
there.
sitting across from Larry Hagman. I'm sitting across from Larry Hagman multiple times, multiple days in a row. And Larry is just killing me with these stories. I mean, he was telling me, I asked Larry to tell me the story about whenever they had Who Shot JR.
Okay.
If any of your viewers remember Dallas in the 1980s, it was a big uh, episode called Who Shot JR. And Larry used to tell me about all the different stories that kind of became of that season, because they ended the season with Who Shot JR, but he had, pardon my impression, he had them by the nuts for the next season, because I mean, it's the Who Shot JR. What are they gonna do? Not have him on a show? So he could practically name the price for his next year's salary, and they're gonna give it to him, because I mean, so he's telling me
Man,
how
good for Larry
he had
Hagman.
guaranteed.
Okay, Mike, you're telling us all about Larry Hagman. Go ahead.
So Larry, when he arrives on set, he's in full wardrobe, except he's got no shoes, he's got no hat, and he comes in and he sits down in his chair where he's supposed to be. Now, you gotta understand, Larry's old. He's been through cancer like twice. He's in his
Oh,
late
wow.
70s. So when Larry comes
Yeah.
to set, they wait on him hand and foot. I mean, he's the king of everything. So when Larry comes to set, and then he shows up on scene, he's wearing no shoes, he's wearing no hat, and he's got a couple of women, always right there with him to make sure his hair is nice and perfect and his makeup's perfect. So he comes in and sits down, and this woman kneels down in front of him, and pulls his brand new boots, out of a brand new box, and
Ouch.
that's where these boots stay. He doesn't wear them any of these, are like Larry's boots on the show, and so they put him
Yeah.
on. They literally put him on for him. And the same thing with the hat. The hat is in a brand new box. Stetson, brand new. There's not a mark on it.
Oh, man.
A perfect hat. They pull the hat. They put the hat on him, and then he would always. Larry was a really good natured guy, and he was always busting people's balls about whatever he could. I mean, 24 hours a day. That's all he did was just bust on people.
Can you
So
give us an example of
so
one of his quips?
yeah, he he would come in. I mean, just looking at him when he would come to set. When he arrived on set, he's in his his stockings,
Yeah.
no shoes, no hat. It doesn't really look like Larry, but when he sits down and they start putting stuff on him, that's when he starts. I mean, it's like they mold him into Larry right there before your very eyes, and then he
Okay.
becomes Jr. And
Wow.
so him sitting at the dining room table, and he shows me his 24 karat gold Rolex that
Oh,
was
wow.
given to him uh, by the studios for as part of his bonus to come back the next season to continue, Who Shot JR. And
Oh, my
so
God.
that was one of the bonus items that he got for continuing on with Who Shot JR the next year, was a solid gold 24 karat gold Rolex that had to be at least, I don't know, between 30 and 50,000. It was really
At
nice. And so he's
least.
so we're still we're sitting at the table. I'm sitting literally across the dining room table from Larry,
Uh-huh.
and he's telling me a story how he's traveled so many different places, and everywhere he goes, people know him. I mean, you could be in the farthest corner of the earth, He was in some small state, some small community in Russia, literally in
Sure.
Russia at the time, and everybody there, the whole community loved Dallas. I mean, they had so when he gets there, he's visiting with the locals, and the locals are telling him that they had a really, really tyrant, the head of the KGB or whatever in that area, or the head of the town, or what have you. He was so dominant about what he would allow them to watch on TV. I mean, they're Russian, so.
Right.
And so they're telling Larry this story about how much they love him and how much the leader of their city hated him, and they got so tired of this guy putting Larry down. Every Friday night the show would come on, and the next day he would be just ripping on Dallas. They literally got rid of the guy. I mean, he went away. That's all they would say to him. They said he went away. I think the community,
Who was this guy?
killed him.
No, I know, but who was this guy?
The head of the town. Huh?
Okay, so this
he was
individual was the head of a town in Russia?
Yeah. He's like what would be considered a mayor of the town here in the U.S. I don't know what they call it over there, but he kind of ran the city, and
okay,
they did what he said because they had to, and so they hated this guy. He was a tyrant. He hated Dallas.
Oh wow!
And the entire community, they all loved Dallas so much they literally got rid of this guy. And they're telling Larry this story. They're telling Larry this story. He's there in person, and they're just so, and they tell him they basically off the guy because they didn't like Dallas. So Larry's telling me this story while they're putting his boots on and putting his hat on, and he's cracking jokes all half the time. Just a hilarious story, and a nice tribute to Larry from the studio, because I mean he walked on water. I think it was NBC.
Wow.
I think
interesting.
I don't remember which network it was, but
so Larry's there telling you a story, Mike.
So everybody on Dallas, from Linda Gray and Patrick Duffy. Linda Gray was the best. Linda Gray has to be one of the most beautiful women, naturally beautiful on the planet. I mean, when I worked with her on Dallas, which was in the mid 2011, 2012 or so, she was probably in her 60s. She had to be in her 60s, and she was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I've never seen a woman at that age. She was absolutely beautiful. And the very first time I met Linda was in Oak Cliff. There's a studio down there in South Dallas in Oak Cliff, and I was dressed as a cop. They had me dressed as a police officer, Dallas police officer.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting in the very front entrance of the studio. I'm just inside the front door, sitting at a desk with my feet up, reading the paper or something. And Linda Gray comes in with her entourage. It's Linda Gray, and there's like 3 or 4 other people, probably her makeup people and wardrobe. So they come in, and Linda sees me, and she stops and looks right at me, and she points at me. She says, "Are you really a Dallas police officer?" And I started chuckling. She goes, I know you're not a police. Are you? I mean, Linda Gray, I had her fooled. She thought I was really a cop, but she didn't really. But she kind of did. I mean, she knows the situation.
Oh yeah, man, you looked the part for sure.
Still confused. She was confused, and I teased her about that constantly for months after we worked together. It was so funny. We would send each other funny jokes on the phone. I mean, I had Linda Gray's phone number. We would send each other, funny stuff on the phone. We'd texting back and forth. And oh my God,
do you still keep in touch with Linda Gray?
No, I don't keep in touch with her, but she was. I could. I mean, I could get a hold of her sometimes. Hey, this is my.
Yeah. No worries. All good.
She was probably one of the kindest, sweetest natured human beings I'd ever met in my life. Linda was just. I never saw her get upset or. Ugly or cry. I mean, always just sweet as pie. And
awesome.
And Patrick Duffy, he was really, really nice. Patrick Duffy was overwhelmingly nice. I mean, I knew Patrick Duffy. That was Aquaman. Remember Aquaman in the 80s?
Oh yeah,
before Dallas came out.
So Mike, this is the time in the
Yeah,
show where we both get to promote. So we set this time aside specifically to promote. So tell
cool.
everybody at Schools Out 80s what you're working on like right now, and then I'll tell everybody what I'm working on.
Well, actually, right now my year just ended. I finished up 2 films, one back in July, and then one in December of this year. So I'm really doing nothing right now except auditioning for various stuff, which is mostly
No
at
worries.
home now because of COVID. Most auditioning is done at home. But I just
Yeah.
finished a movie called The Long Game with Dennis Quaid and
Wow.
Lee Henderson, who's the new Magnum PI. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called the long game, like playing in golf, the long game, starring
Sure.
Dennis Quaid. And I get in a fight with Dennis Quaid. I have a baseball bat and get in a little scrap. That's all I can say about it. But then after I finished that movie, I did another movie called Insane Like Me. This was a little more of a horror type film. What I
Yeah.
and it's Eric brother Eric Roberts, the star Eric Roberts, is the lead
Oh,
role
wow.
in a film that I'm in called Insane Like Me. And I had
Okay.
originally booked the sheriff role and was gonna be the sheriff for the movie, but then
Okay.
they gave the role to Eric. So I lost the role to Eric Roberts. So I'm not really all that upset. I lost the role to Eric Roberts. So and this is how I get cast. I was reading for and was cast as the sheriff, but because Eric
Okay.
came in and wanted him to be the sheriff, then
Right.
they decided to have me for another character, and it's the monster. So I read for the sheriff and for the monster, and that's typical for me. So Insane Like Me comes out in 2013, or sorry, 23,
Awesome.
probably early spring in a couple of months.
Okay.
But
Okay.
any of my friends out there, anybody wants to learn more about me, they can go to IMDb, the International Movie Database, which is imdb.com. Films and TV shows that I've been in. And so, and that's that, and that also goes for your boy.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
do some personal. I do some personal class. I'll do a phone conversation for free. It's no big deal. But
Yeah.
uh, I can also do an hour-long sit down with kids from very young to teenage. I've done so many, and I
Okay.
know so many of the little secrets, so many ins and outs of the acting industry, because the acting industry is so secretive. You, you could be like just spinning your wheels for 2 years before you really even know what's going on. And I
I'll go ahead and promote what I do. So again, my name is John the Sales Warrior, and I've been professionally selling for 32 years. And quite simply, the thing I offer to the world is my book. It's on Amazon. It's called Simply Sales Warrior. It'll give you the 32 years of wisdom that I have in professional selling. It'll teach you how to authentically connect to your prospects, how to work your pipeline, and most importantly, how to close your business and make money. And that's it. How to reach me just on my website, saleswarriorinspired.com. Michael, it's been wonderful, man, to have you
yeah
on Schools Out 80s Comedy Story Time. So we're going to go ahead and sign off for
man,
this episode. And so go ahead, Mike. Say
I
goodbye
wish
to
we had more
everybody at
time.
Schools Out 80s.
imdb.com. I wish we had more time. Bye, everybody. Hey, let's do it
All
again.
right. And that's Michael P. Gardner from Schools Out 80s Comedy Story Time. We're going to have all of his listings, ways to contact him, any way you want to connect to him on any of his social media. And Michael's coming to you all the way from Fort Worth, Texas. And of course, I'm always coming to you all the way from Dallas, Texas. And for this episode of Schools Out 80s, cheers, everyone.